In a remote, forgotten village, nestled deep within the heart of mist-covered mountains, there stood a seemingly idyllic Airbnb rental, a centuries-old cottage. It was listed as a cozy retreat, perfect for those seeking solace and serenity, a place where the world's worries could be left behind. Four friends, Sarah, Mike, Lisa, and Tom, were in desperate need of an escape from the stresses of their busy lives. They eagerly booked the cottage, drawn in by the promise of tranquility, adventure, and a break from the constant hum of modernity. Upon arrival, the group was met by the enigmatic Mr. Blackwood, the owner and host of the cottage. He was a man of few words, his face marked by the passage of time, and his eyes held a strange, distant glint. He handed them the rusty iron key, spoke in hushed tones, and offered a cryptic warning about the cottage and the surrounding woods. He mentioned tales of strange occurrences and otherworldly sightings, dismissing them as mere local legends, but his unsettling demeanor left the group with an unshakable sense of foreboding. The cottage itself was a charming relic of a bygone era, a place where antique furniture and time-worn paintings adorned the walls. An air of history hung heavy in the musty, wood-scented air. A babbling brook meandered nearby, and the forest loomed like silent sentinels, seemingly harboring secrets from a forgotten past. As night fell, the group gathered around the creaking wooden table, sharing ghost stories and laughter, while sipping on glasses of wine. The warmth of the fireplace flickered and cast dancing shadows upon the walls. Despite Mr. Blackwood's warning, they dismissed his tales as the superstitious imaginings of a man steeped in local folklore. Little did they know, the cottage held secrets of its own, and their laughter would soon turn to fear, their weekend getaway becoming a nightmarish ordeal that none of them could ever have anticipated. The night pressed on, with the friends sharing stories and laughter around the fire. The wind outside howled like a mournful spirit, and the shadows cast by the flickering flames grew more menacing. The room, once filled with warmth, started to turn icy, chilling the bones of the group. Just as they were about to retire to their respective rooms, they heard a faint, haunting melody emanating from somewhere deep within the cottage. It was a tune that tugged at the edges of their memories, one that was both familiar and utterly foreign. They ventured through the dimly lit hallways, tracing the ghostly melody's origin, only to find that it seemed to come from behind a sealed door. With trembling hands, they turned the old, rusty knob. The door creaked open, revealing a hidden room filled with an ancient piano bathed in an eerie, ethereal light. The piano keys seemed to play themselves, producing the haunting melody. It was then they noticed that the room's walls were adorned with portraits of people long gone, and their eyes followed the visitors with a disturbing intensity. The room became colder and more oppressive, the once inviting fire now mere embers. The group's fear began to mount as the portraits whispered unintelligible words, and the piano keys pounded in an otherworldly frenzy. Desperate to escape, they rushed back into the hallway, slamming the door shut behind them. As they returned to the main room, they found Mr. Blackwood standing in the doorway, his eyes wild and menacing. He warned them once more of the evil that resided in the cottage, a malevolent force that awakened with each visit. He told them that they were now trapped in a nightmarish cycle, destined to relive the horrors of this place for eternity. The group's hearts raced, but escape seemed impossible. The room around them seemed to twist and contort, revealing hidden, nightmarish dimensions within the cottage. They were trapped in a supernatural web of terror, unable to flee or reason with the inexplicable horrors. Stay tuned for the next part of the story, where we'll explore the group's desperate attempts to break free from the cottage's haunting grip. The chilling events that unfolded that night would forever haunt the group, a lesson learned too late about the cottage's sinister secrets and Mr. Blackwood's cryptic warnings. Their peaceful Airbnb getaway had become a horrifying and inescapable nightmare, a story they would never live to tell. As the group struggled to find a way out, they realized that time and space had become distorted within the confines of the cottage. Each hallway they entered seemed to lead to a different era, and every room they explored was inhabited by spirits of the past. They encountered apparitions who silently beckoned them toward an uncertain fate, and they heard the echoes of anguished voices, recounting tragic tales of love and loss. It was as if the very walls of the cottage were alive, filled with the echoes of countless lives that had been drawn into its dark depths. Days turned into nights, and nights into days, with no sign of relief or escape from the relentless horrors. The group's bonds began to fray as fear and exhaustion took their toll. They had all but given up hope, resigned to their fate as prisoners of the cursed cottage. In the end, it was a desperate plea to the spirits of the cottage that may have saved them. Sarah, in a moment of sheer desperation, spoke aloud, addressing the tortured souls that seemed to inhabit the place. To everyone's astonishment, the haunting melody ceased, and the room grew still. The spirits began to communicate, revealing the tragic stories of the past and the dark history of the cottage. This newfound understanding, while unsettling, provided a glimmer of hope. The group learned of a way to break the curse that bound them to the cottage, but it came at a great cost. They would have to make a terrible sacrifice to release the spirits and escape the cycle of horror. Their harrowing ordeal ended with a grim decision, as the group faced the unforgiving darkness that clung to the cottage. The story of the Haunted Getaway serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that some places, no matter how charming they may appear, are best left unexplored.